In 60 seconds, I'll tell you exactly how you could get your SDRs to become AEs. Typically what we do when you have an SDR team, at least most companies like to move and promote their SDRs to account executives at one point. So instead of having SDRs do the boring heavy lifting of going through lead lists, calling out to prospects, making sure that people get timely follow-ups, instead of that, they could actually focus on in-depth discovery, if not the sales process in and of itself. Work more down funnel, because the initial interest could be captured with an AI. It could then be pushed to the next step for initial discovery with maybe an SDR or an AE. That then gets pushed into a sale. So removing the barrier of that, the top of the funnel aspect for these SDRs, I would refer to trying out AI instead, given the fact that you could reduce hiring and your SDRs might even be able to free up more time to become those AEs.
Mike's got the hat, the AI kind. Unlocking power in business you'll find. Cut through the hype, explore the tech. Every week new ideas to check. All 10 leads us on a digital quest. AI secrets he'll always invest. Tune in tight, don't miss a beat. Knowledge groove, keep you on your feet. Listen up to the AI flow. Business growth, here we go. Cutting edge insights, that's the plan. With the AI hat, you'll understand.
Greetings, program. Welcome to the AI Hat Podcast, the resource for revenue teams who are ready to stop being the bottleneck in their own business. And each week, we architect the simple AI operational systems that eliminate admin drag and reclaim your time, freeing you and your team to focus on the high-value work that truly scales your revenue. I'm your host, Mike Alden. Subscribe, and let's build your digital team together. Speaking of teams, your sales team isn't ignoring dead leads because they're lazy. They're ignoring them because they're drowning in the 70% of non-revenue work that turns expensive closers into data entry clerks. And while you're debating whether to hire 2 more SDRs to handle follow-up, your competitors have stopped asking, who do I hire next? And started asking, what system do I build next? Here's the truth. Most revenue leaders haven't internalized yet. AI isn't just writing emails anymore. It's conducting real-time dynamic conversations at scale, handling objections, qualifying leads, and booking meetings. And in some cases, it's doing it so well, prospects are inviting the AI agent to grab coffee. Will de Principe is a growth and solutions engineering leader at Thoughtly, where he helps enterprise teams deploy AI voice agents that transform how revenue organizations operate. But here's why you need to listen to him. Will personally drove close to $1 million in sales in about 6 months using the systems he's about to walk us through. He's helped clients save over $500,000 in operational expenses and generate hundreds of thousands per month by reactivating dead leads. Pure margin expansion from pipeline that would have stayed buried forever. Will isn't a futurist painting pictures of 2030. He's a practitioner showing you the workflow architecture that's producing P&L impact right now. Hey, Will, welcome to the show.
Mike, it's a pleasure to be on. I'm a big fan of the show, and hell of an intro, by the way. Hats off to you.
Appreciate that. Like I tell folks all the time, transparently, Claude wrote your intro. You did all the work. I just set it on camera. So thank you so much for being here and for having such a fantastic resume and projects. I can't wait to dig into this with you. But I want to start with that story that kind of, to me, proves that we're entering a new era. Tell us about that prospect who invited your AI voice agent to grab coffee. Hello.
Yes.
What was happening in that conversation? What does that moment kind of reveal about where voice AI technology is today?
Yeah. Matter of fact, that happened to one of our prospects. We set up an agent for him, and the agent's a simple re-engagement agent, meaning lead comes in, lead shows interest, you immediately call the lead. And the prospect, it was a real estate company. So the prospect's looking for more information about the area. and they say that they're a huge coffee person if there's any coffee spots in the area. And the AI, funnily enough, said its favorite coffee spot. The prospect had no idea it was talking to an AI. Began to converse with them and saying, hey, maybe we should stop by and grab a cup of coffee. Funnily enough, it was within like the same distance as the headquarters. And the AI agreed to it. But unfortunately, they did not grab coffee that day. So he's still waiting for a call back from our AI, I guess.
Yeah, we haven't quite reached the iRobot moment where they can actually go have that coffee.
Not yet.
Us, but
not yet. At least.
Yeah, we're getting there. We are getting very close, I think. But a lot of revenue leaders, I think, they still feel like AI equals, I don't know, like ChatGPT for email or Gemini for scripts and that sort of thing. Help us understand what a voice agent actually is. How is it different from the chatbots that we've been using for a few years now? And what makes it capable of handling real-time dynamic conversations?
Yeah, there's a couple ways that you could view it. You could view it from the consumer standpoint, which a lot of people do. I mean, you think of AI voice right now, you're probably going to associate it to talking to ChatGPT, given the feature that just came out. But then there's like this business aspect, and that's what Thoughtly really handles. This business aspect of communicating with your customers, and more importantly, getting to your customers extremely quickly. Truth of the matter is, sales teams are extremely expensive to operate, and they're not robots. Let's be honest. They take time off. They can't get to as many leads as you'd like. And that's exactly what AI voice agents have proven to be best at. So in terms of what you could expect from AI in the business world, you could expect these to start growing more and more rapidly, not only calling into businesses and getting routed to different spots, but instantly getting a follow-up. Instead of just getting some standard email, you're going to immediately be able to speak with an AI, get your questions answered, get booked in for a meeting, get transferred to the right person if necessary. It's basically the perfect SDR for a lot of teams. And we've seen that as the best use case so far here at Thoughtly.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, I know you've said that AI isn't about replacing people, that it's about removing bottlenecks. It's a topic we've talked about on this show quite a bit. Walk us through. I'd love to hear like a real client example in this instance, because I talk about removing bottlenecks all the time, but I'm still using Gemini, Claude, ChatGPT for that kind of stuff. So I'd love an example of how a voice agent removed a bottleneck without eliminating jobs, and what was like the before state versus the after deployment.
Absolutely. And I guess the best way that I could explain this is by asking a question. Given the fact that you got a great show and a lot of people want to be on this show, if 100 people were to submit an application tomorrow, what would that day look like for you? Let's say the next day after that, what would that whole week look like for you? I'm sure it would consist of a whole lot of outreach. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, that whole day is going to be spent reading that. It's me. They're all coming to me.
You're reading them, you're qualifying them, you're making sure that they have the right criteria. All of this is very strenuous work, and not necessarily replacing you if I were to have an AI agent reach out and qualify these people, and if qualified, book a meeting with you. That's not necessarily something that's replacing your job, more enhancing your job, freeing up time to do other things, maybe better well spent. That's exactly what teams are doing. Exactly. It's not necessarily going to be replacing as many jobs as it's going to be enhancing. So rather than calling out to leads and qualifying them yourself or booking appointments, you could focus more on the sales work rather than the setting appointment work, so to speak.
I love that example so much because I think it illustrates that admin drag concept perfectly. Someone like me decides that we're going to start a podcast. We don't go into it with the knowledge and assumption that all of a sudden we're going to get all this kind of outreach of other people trying to book, you know, their team members or their clients on the show. We don't go into it anticipating we're going to spend a lot of time reading these emails, deciding whether or not to respond to them, if we do respond to them, how to respond to them, and so on. And yet the truth is, no matter how big or small your podcast is, as soon as it's out there in the wild, PR teams get your name and email off of the list and they start dropping that. So I don't get 100 in a day, but I might get 100 a month.
Yeah.
And that's not what I started this podcast. So I think that's a great example of a situation where that wasn't the intent. It has nothing to do with the role that was created or the value that's being created from my role. And yet it's something that I now have to deal with. And
Mhm.
I'd happily hand that off to an AI agent who would able to determine for me, okay, is this a brand reaching out? If so, let's hand them our sponsorship deck. Is it a really great guest? Okay, cool. Let's take a look at him. Is this guy just totally off the mark and has nothing to do with our target audience? Because I get those too. I mean, I'll
Yeah.
get, health and wellness experts who want to be
Yeah.
on the show because they're using their bots, right, to
Yeah.
reach out. So
And even
fantastic.
speaking from a team of, young guys like ourselves, when we were just getting started out inside of Thoughtly, it was us inside of a little small office. And we make a huge drive for these AI agents. We're getting a bunch of people who are showing interest, but oftentimes that's exactly where it ends. Is just, I'm interested. Well, then what? Am I going to throw you in an email sequence? Is that really what's going to get you hooked? What we did is we implemented our own technology. It's kind of what unlocked our growth was implementing our own technology into these campaigns. All you have to do is show interest once. I guarantee you I will get a yes or a no from you. I can promise you that. If it's a no, I'm not going to harass you, but I'm going to get a yes or a no. And that's the absolute beauty of these new campaigns we like to call the AI voice agent campaigns.
Tell me more about that because, first of all, I love that you're going for a yes or a no
Mhm.
because the no can sometimes be even more informing than the yes. As long as it's an answer, we're happy, right? But tell me more about what these campaigns look like.
Yeah. So there's a variety of campaigns. Before I jump into like all of the campaigns you can run with AI, I would like to say that I do think the outbound use case for these AI voice agents in a business sense is far more impactful than the inbound use case. We really like to generate revenue. I think that it's going to be a little bit more helpful on the RevOps side rather than the customer service side. There's a whole lot that can go wrong, a whole lot of angry people on the customer service side. If an AI is detected, it could be a nightmare. But the RevOps side, I think there's so much to be said there. Given the fact that I've done some implementing of some tools and resources inside of my business, what we've found is that mixing outbound with inbound is such a viable strategy. For example, the call to action inside of a lot of emails are, hey, come book a meeting with me. Maybe go check out our website. Here's a landing page to go check out. However, what people are doing now is attaching a phone number. Hey, shoot an AI a call. It might be a fit for your business. I would love for you to check it out. Or have this AI call you. It'll take 5 seconds. That barrier to entry starts to shrink just a little bit there, along with submitting a form on a ad. If I'm interested in this technology, the first thing I want to do is try it out for myself. So that's shown us a whole lot of success as well, converting that outbound effort for inbound traffic.
So just to clarify for those listening, what you're suggesting is because you're using AI, you can send a message with a CTA to call the AI immediately or have the AI call you immediately rather than what a normal BDR has to do, which is to send them a Calendly link and book 30 minutes at some point in the not so distant future, hopefully. Is that right?
110%.
Yeah.
So there's one legality issue, which requires us to get this consent, and that's cold calling with AI. You can't cold call with AI voice agents. I would hate to live in a world where we could, because you would be getting nonstop hammered with AI calls. But in terms of getting that consent, it's super easy to get the consent with just piquing curiosity. I've come to realize that marketing it's almost like easing somebody into the sales process is where you're going to start to get a whole lot more of traction. And the easiest way to do that, at least in my opinion, is make the barrier to entry so low where it's just, let us shoot you a call. Hear this technology out for yourself. And because of that, we were able to do very well for ourselves in such a short amount of time.
That's really cool. And in honesty and fairness, it's true that you have a bit of an advantage there because you're basically demonstrating the technology through the sales call itself, which is fascinating to me. Where does it become human handled? Like where's there a handoff? I know you've personally driven, close to $1 million in sales in 6 months using these voice agents. So it's definitely working, but I'd love to know a little bit more about how that works with your human sales folks.
Great question. Great question. And that doesn't necessarily have to play a factor into our tech. What's happening right now? If I were to press a button on my phone and show my availability as open, our AI will begin to dial our leads. The leads who haven't shown interest in a while, the leads who maybe have shown interest in the past, just haven't gotten back to us. And if that lead ever asks to be transferred to me or says they're interested or wants to learn more, they'll give two options. You could either book an appointment with Will or one of our sales reps, or I could transfer you directly to his phone number. This is happening on a round robin through all the sales teams. But if somebody ever wants to learn more information, the AI would transfer directly to me. Now, I don't have to spend time dialing all these old leads. I get transferred to the leads that actually have intent, the ones that are actually interested. And that is such a game changer for not only our company, but for every company who has leads inside of their CRM, which I would assume is a whole lot of companies out there.
Okay, wait. So you're talking about reaching out now to, well, I talked about the outset, dead leads, cold leads. How do you design this kind of a voice agent workflow to re-engage that kind of lead without sounding desperate or damaging the brand or anything like that?
Absolutely. And the only way that I could touch on this is through transparency. Typically, the way that conversations go, at least for these re-engagement campaigns, what we like to call them, people who showed interest, now they're not, is complete and utter honesty. We say, hey, am I speaking with Mike? Somebody says yes. From there, it's going to give them a brief rundown as to what this call entails. There's transparency right out of the gate. Oftentimes people say that it's an AI right out of the gate. Some people don't. I prefer saying it's an AI. Next, we say, I'm just reaching out because, let's say 30 days ago, you previously showed interest in selling your house. Is that still the case? From there, yes or no? If yes, let's continue this conversation forward, and we're going to push you to a call to action. That could be getting transferred. That could be getting booked. But coming at it from an angle of transparency is always what I let our clients know is the best tactic for the best results. With results on the top of my mind as well, this exact campaign, it's funny I said real estate, is what Nomad, one of our customers, is using. They're a property management tool. And with this exact campaign, they were able to book 650 meetings in the span of 90 days with leads that they've completely forgot existed and were going to be thrown into an email sequence. So it is a very viable solution for a whole lot of companies.
I think that's a really compelling point, which is that a lot of these leads, maybe they'd go into an email sequence. I probably suspect for most companies, they wouldn't even do that.
Yeah.
Right. They're just going to sit there and cost them money by being a contact on their CRM, right?
Yes, very true. There's been people who've come to us on the verge of the edge saying, hey, these are going to be trashed. Where do we do with them now? And if they're opted in, 100%, just give them a call. Doesn't have to be repetitive. Doesn't even have to be a campaign. Give them one call, see if they're still with you. If not, then, get that yes or no, as we previously mentioned.
Terrific. Folks, we're talking with Will de Principe about how your team can leverage AI voice agents today. I've got several more questions you aren't going to want to miss, but first, a quick word about Shadow AI. Right now, your best people are drowning. They're buried in data entry, meeting prep, and internal reporting, the admin drag that kills momentum. To keep their heads above water, they're turning to AI tools you haven't approved. They aren't trying to be reckless. They are trying to be efficient. They are trying to hit the goals you set for them. But this shadow AI creates massive blind spots in your data security. You can't afford to ignore it, but you also can't afford to ban it. You need to architect it. I've created the executive guide to Shadow AI to help you bridge this gap. It's a blueprint for turning a security risk into a competitive advantage through proper governance. Don't fight the shadow, sanction it. Download the free guide today at theaihat.com/shadow-AI. That's theaihat.com/shadow-AI. So Will, you mentioned that, some people reveal that it's an AI, some people don't. Let's talk about quality benchmarks. I think that's going to play into this. What separates a voice agent that sounds robotic even and kills the conversation from one that builds rapport, maybe even gets invited to coffee? And what should revenue leaders be evaluating when they're vetting voice AI providers?
100%. That this is one of our main concerns, where it's like, I don't want it to sound AI. And truth of the matter is, either do we. But I could let you know right now, if any AI were to call me, I would 100% know. And it doesn't matter what model we're using. So I don't think we're at the point quite yet where it's a clear distinction. For some people, it is. Currently at Thoughtly, we're seeing somewhere around 70% that don't notice, 30% do notice. But as time goes on, I think the world's going to get a tad bit more adjusted. Not because the voices are getting worse, but because people are starting to notice this tech. So it falls back on that. It falls back on that transparency aspect. I don't think any company should necessarily be coming at it as trying to fool somebody, because there might be portions where somebody detects that they're speaking to an AI and now they feel deceived. So we always say to come at it from a point of transparency, although some people choose not to, which is where you kind of get those fun conversations where somebody invites them to coffee. Matter of fact, one of our AIs asked about somebody's dog's name because the dog was barking. He's like, sorry, that's my dog in the back. And the AI was like, oh, what's his name? And they talked about the dog, a little rapport building there. But that's all great. If you do want a more strict conversation as well, something you can program inside of it. Most people prefer that standard conversation, and they more tighten the strap on it. Others like to let it loose.
So I'm not going to call out competitors and ask you to compare to competitors, but to give someone a sense of what the quality is like, I'm assuming you've probably listened to Notebook LM and some of their audio overviews. How does that compare to the kind of voice agents we're creating in these kinds of instances?
I am 100% completely fine with mentioning any competitors as well, because Thoughtly in and of itself is going to be deviating itself as a competitor to anyone shortly, given the fact of our vision and our roadmap. In terms of these standalone voices, we're talking about like 11 Labs, Notebook, you got OpenAI, nowhere near our competitors. They're more that B2C type of use case that allows you to speak directly with AI. In terms of the AI voice competitors, we're talking about things like Bland, Retail, Synthflow, Vappy. These are all have their use cases. They all have their businesses they serve. For us in particular, we are the outbound use case. We like to distinct ourselves through that outbound use case. The high consideration B2C customers is what we like to say. So when you think about mortgage, retail, insurance, real estate, education, these are all high consideration B2C companies where that outreach is super important in a timely manner. We integrate with CRMs naturally. We call out to those leads. But what's to come from Thoughtly with this in mind is going to be a complete AI persona. This is all on our product roadmap, meaning I reach out to you on text message. I then have a natural sounding conversation. I ask if I could shoot you a call. I then call you, remembering all the context that we had on that text message. I then ask if it's all right if we proceed with booking an appointment. After that appointment gets booked, I follow up with you again, remembering all the context and asking how that appointment went. This is an SDR from front to end. An omnichannel SDR platform is what's to be expected in the upcoming months. I would say somewhere around 2 to 3 months, we should have a V2 ready, and you will be able to have omni-channel conversations with not only an AI agent, what we like to say, an AI persona.
I love that. I mean, one of the things that I talk about all the time to sales folks is making sure that they're keeping transcripts of the calls that they do have themselves, so they can feed those transcripts into AI, their own AI assistants, and allow the AI to help them capture every detail, respond to every nuance, make sure every objection is handled in a proposal, that sort of thing. And I can see these kinds of agents being just absolutely flawless. in those
Mhm.
kinds of regards, because if they are moving along with the flow of the prospect through their journey and they're having multiple touch points, multiple channels, multiple conversations,
Yeah.
they will flawlessly remember every single one of those details.
Mhm.
I'm human. I will not. If you and I talk again in 6 months, I may not remember where you're from. An important detail like that, let alone the name of your dog or some other kind of thing that you might have told me as an aside
It
during a conversation.
it's also a scary world, Mike, because there's starting to become a dynamic between AI and humans that are not only like intimate, but there's romantic relationships, there's friendly relationships. Some consider their best friend. Some people would actually consider an AI to be on the top 3 or top 5 of their best friends list. And it's not too crazy when you actually think about it. Every single detail that you have about yourself that you've expressed to someone has oftentimes been, pushed out or maybe left to the side. But if you tell an AI that, it's all used to your advantage and it tells you everything you need to hear in most cases. So you start to look at the dynamic in that sense. You take that into the business sense, maybe not the romantic type, but you take that into the business sense. And you start to realize that every single thing that I talked about with a prospect, if I could just remember that and tell them everything they need to know based on the person they are, then you're looking at a grand slam home run in terms of an SDR.
That's absolutely right. That's rapport building 101. But like you
Yeah.
said, it's pretty much beyond the capacity of a normal human today, unless there's some kind of voracious note taker and they've got a system that can support all that. And no one's got that kind of time. But I want to go back to this idea of uh, how are we expanding our teams? So I know you talked about rather than who do I hire next, what system do I build next? So maybe a VP of sales is listening, or a CRO. They've been told they need to hire a couple more SDRs to hit quota. How do they evaluate whether a voice agent is a better investment than a couple humans?
100%. And in 60 seconds, I'll tell you exactly how you could get your SDRs to become AEs. Typically, what we do when you have an SDR team, at least most companies like to move and promote their SDRs to account executives at one point. So instead of having SDRs do the boring, heavy lifting of going through lead lists, calling out to prospects, making sure that people get timely follow-ups, instead of that, they could actually focus on in-depth discovery, if not the sales process in and of itself. Work more down funnel, because the initial interest could be captured with an AI. It could then be pushed to the next step for initial discovery with maybe an SDR or an AE. That then gets pushed into a sale. So removing the barrier of the top of the funnel aspect for these SDRs, I would refer to trying out AI instead, given the fact that you could reduce hiring and your SDRs might even be able to free up more time to become those AEs.
That makes complete sense. Now let's get tactical, because I know there's a lot of revenue leaders that are listening and they're thinking, okay, I want to pilot a voice agent. What's like the low risk or high ROI use case that they should start with? What does a responsible pilot look like?
100%. And as I mentioned previously, I'm really big into gradual, especially when it comes to the AI space. A lot of people raise their eyebrows to this. They don't necessarily believe it. They don't think that it's going to help their business. So what it looks like, at least on the Thoughtly side, is a gradual process of trying this out for 30 to 60 days. We don't want any commitment from you. We just want you to see the results. We know what we could do. So we actually feel comfortable allowing people into the platform, starting to build for 30 to 60 days, launching it inside of their business. The only thing they're responsible for is paying for the usage, which is a couple of pennies per minute. So if you're willing to throw a couple pennies per minute and see if this is something that works for you, that's what we do best. We allow you to try this technology out for yourself and see if it's something that works inside of your workflow, which oftentimes it does.
That sounds like a smart approach to a
Right.
pilot. Last question. And this is kind of the audit that I want every listener to do after this episode. If you looked at your CRM right now, how many leads are sitting there that your team will never manually call because they're too buried in current pipeline? And what would that mean for your revenue if you could reactivate even 10% of those leads this quarter? Will kind of put like one of your clients in that shoe. what is the impact do you think would be to that client?
Well, I don't have to talk in hypotheticals because that exact use case that you mentioned there not only generates our customers like Nomad 650 meetings booked. We have another home buyer who booked over 1,000 meetings in 30 days with his entire lead list that he just shot campaigns to. We have other companies that are in the education space, Podium to you, that are doing these exact campaigns. People who are projected to hit tens of millions of dollars by the years 2030 just through these campaigns subtly working through their CRM. So if I had any leads in my CRM that I wouldn't call myself or I wouldn't throw into an email sequence, I would go ahead and put them into an AI voice agent campaign to see exactly these results inside of my business. That's my 2 cents on it.
Yeah, that is fantastic. I can't wait to give this a try myself. Will, you've been absolutely amazing. This has been such a fascinating conversation and use case. I know listeners' brains are just on fire right now. They've got more questions for you than I could possibly answer in a podcast interview. And if they want to reach out, then where should they go?
You should go to thoughtly.com. You can check out our entire website there. If you are interested in talking to one of our reps, you go to thoughtly.com/demo and you could get a complete demo of the platform and we'll get you on completely risk-free.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Will. Appreciate that. Thanks all of you for listening. Of course, that's all the time we've got for today, friends. I will have all of Will and Thoughtly's links in the show notes below. And if you haven't yet talked to your team about how they're really using AI, that shadow AI I talked about, it's time. Learn what shadow AI is, why you should lean into it, and how to proceed for free at theaihat.com/shadow-AI. Check it out, and I'll see you in our next episode. Welcome to the grid. That's a wrap on another episode of the AI Hat Podcast. I hope you gained some valuable insights and actionable strategies to boost your business with AI. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your network. And don't forget to visit theaihat.com for more resources and to connect with me. Until next time, keep innovating, and remember, the future of business is human and it's powered by AI.